U.S. has surpassed another terrible coronavirus milestone with more than 10 million reported cases. And of course, it's only expected to get worse. So far, the pandemic has claimed nearly 240,000 lives in the U.S., including parents, siblings, friends, artists, and essential workers. We are continuing to share the stories of the remarkable people that we've lost. Here are just some of the many lives to remember.
Helen Jones Woods was a founding member of the International Sweethearts of Rhythm, a racially integrated all-female band that toured the world in the 1930s and 40s. Woods picked up the trombone at 13, as she told a Smithsonian panel in 2011.
I like watching the slide go up and down, you know. Oh, I could go up and down too, so why the hell don't I play that instrument, you know?
In 1944, Downbeat magazine rated the Sweethearts America's #1 female band. But as Woods recalled, they weren't always welcome in the Jim Crow South. The Sweethearts broke up in 1949, and Woods joined the Omaha Symphony. But she was fired when the orchestra discovered she was black. So she worked for 30 years as a nurse and raised 4 children. Helen Jones Woods was 96. Dr. John D. Marshall ran a family practice in South Georgia for more than 3 decades. My uncle was a rock star in Americus, Georgia, said Rashid Marshall. He had his hand in every little thing in that city. Dr. Marshall, JD to his friends, headed the NAACP chapter for 14 years.
Good evening, everybody.
And started the local newspaper, the Americus Sumter Observer, serving as editor-in-chief. Dr. Marshall was still running the paper and caring for his patients when he caught the coronavirus. He would spend 111 days on a ventilator. He worked until he could not work anymore, said his niece Leslie Marshall. We truly lost an angel. Dr. John D. Marshall was 74. Bryan Fonseca was a dramatic force in Indianapolis theater, a producer and director who championed voices whose stories hadn't been told.
Good theater has always been commentary on the political and social aspects of every community in which it serves.
Fonseca first started a storefront theater in his hometown of Gary, Indiana. In 1983, in Indianapolis, he co-founded the Phoenix Theater, which he led for 35 years.
You can fly.
2 years ago, he put his name on a new company, the Fonseca Theater, made up of 80% people of color. He gave me a shot. He's done that for countless artists, said Jordan Flores Schwartz, now the theater's interim director. When Fonseca got COVID, he held staff meetings from the hospital till just days before he died. He had a laugh that could fill a room, said Schwartz. It's weird to think I'll never hear that voice again. Bryan Fonseca was 65. Andrea Mammen was a clinical psychologist and mother in Illinois. She was hands down the most beautiful soul I have ever met, said her husband Matt. They met in kindergarten, became close friends in high school, and married in 2013. Andrea worked for 9 years to get her psychology degree and was devoted to her patients. Andy was a very accepting person, said her mom, Kathy Smith. She just wanted people to feel good about themselves and their differences. In May, Matt and Andy bought their dream home, so their son Russ, now 3, had a big backyard to play in. Then in August, they all caught the coronavirus. Matt and Russ fought it off, but Andy's lingered. Just days after his mother died, Russ called out one night to his father. "Dada," he said, "it's just going to be you and me now, right?" "Yep," Matt answered, "just you and me." Andrea Mammen was 37.
Gosh, that chokes me up every time. You know, it's like this is what we're dealing with here, and what's left behind, and the people, people having to pick up after all of this. I mean, Bryan Fonseca usually did the Christmas production every year, and he's not going to be doing it this year.
It's just another reminder. I'm so glad you do these, as hard as they are, that these are people behind all these numbers and cases.
They are. All right.
You hear people say, "Oh, it affects virtually nobody." Is that nobody? I mean, there's a lot of somebodies.
We'll
out
be
there.
right back. You're watching CBS This Morning.